I texted you like 30 minutes ago and I was like, I'm so ready to talk about it. And now I'm...
Sorry, I didn't leave work till 3:30, so I was a little late.
I wasn't able to rewatch it again. Okay. I just couldn't bring myself to do it yet.
No, that's probably fair. I don't think I could right now either. I
started to, and I felt like I felt a duty to rewatch it so that I could actually write down the plot. And ultimately, the plot doesn't matter.
Right.
So, I am devastated in a way that I don't think I've ever been from a show or movie.
Yeah. Do you need me to take it for a minute?
Do you want to try and set it up any, or?
Well, I mean, it was mostly the main gist is that they're going up for their last, like, hurrah against both the monsters, and they get Julia, like, right away.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have to go after Quentin, or Elliot, but when they get back, the reservoir is empty, and Everett has already gotten his stuff, and so they have to go on, like, another little mini quest and everything. Then we get into the deep part.
Yeah, I feel like the only actual plot in the episode that needs to be discussed before we get to the thing is that Julia and Penny, their stuff. Julia was wounded by the axe. They got the monster out of her, and a decision needed to be made whether to make her a goddess, full-fledged goddess again, or a full-fledged human.
Yeah.
And Penny made the decision for her, which is... I'll go ahead and say this show really loves to flirt with dangerous territory, because taking a bodily autonomy decision away from Julia is a just bold.
Yeah, well, it was even to the point where I didn't know what had happened. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize that Penny had made the decision. I thought there was still time. I thought Julia was going to be, like, kind of out of commission the entire episode, and that didn't happen. And so when we found out that he had decided to make her human, I was like, that's fucked up. But, like, would it have been worse if he had chosen to make her a goddess? I just, like...
Well, it was the safer decision, but it was also a selfish decision. Right. And the show pretty quickly let us know that it was... forgivable.
Yeah.
Because Julia asked him to stay. He was leaving, and she said, will you just stay here so I can be mad at you? And that was such a good line, I thought.
Yeah. Well, it's such a good line. It's such a good, like, feeling and emotion, and it just, like, you could tell that she was pissed, but he's the one that she wanted to be there so she could be pissed.
And to create this kind of safe space that's a rare thing. It's a rare gift to have someone that you're that comfortable with that you can be actively angry at them.
Yeah.
You know?
But still want them there.
Well, it was assurance that she'll get over it, but she's going to have to do that.
Right, yeah. She's going to have to actually be angry first. Well, I guess before we get into the really intense stuff, I really loved the old god cake.
I missed that.
Oh my God.
We were watching it together. We don't always do that. And you were cracking up when they were all eating cake. And I guess I had walked into the kitchen and missed something.
Well, it was just the two of them. It was just Quentin and Josh when they went to see the guy that was doing, like, playing golf. That was, like, the representative of the old gods. I'm fairly certain
he was an archangel.
Well, whatever, yeah. But he gave them cake, and then they cut back, and they were all, like, trying to plan what they were going to do to, like, save Elliot. And Josh and Quentin were both just still eating the cake.
Mm-hmm.
It was hilarious.
Was there anything about the cake? It was just magic cake?
Yeah, it just... Josh made a comment. He was like, I don't know. I know this isn't the point, but I don't think I can ever eat non-old god cake again.
I guess we get to the scene, and it's the MacGuffin stuff is that the old gods need to be thrown into the seam, or not the old gods, the monsters rather, need to be thrown into the seam, which is an area between the living world and the dead world. And
but it's only in the mirror dimension.
Was the doorway to it. And there was a door that even Niff and Alice knew not to go to. And
it also, honestly also reminded me a lot of, there's a string of episodes of Doctor Who where there's, like, a crack in the wall, and it's like a terror in dimensions. It's kind of like that.
And I missed the explanation that they couldn't do magic in there, but it was stated that they couldn't do magic in there.
Yeah.
And so they threw the male monster into the seam, and they were about to throw the female monster into the seam when Everett showed up. And I am not entirely sure. Like, while we were watching it, I had no idea what was happening. Because on one hand, I was even inclined to sort of trust Everett, but there was a whole thing this season about, like, I think we threw down the word, I can't think of the word now, it's not fascism, but
oh no, but I mean that library was taking some liberties.
Yeah, and there was a lot of themes this season about, like, power and control and who gets to have power and who controls access to power, literal and metaphoric. And this show does things on such a big scale, and the themes that we are constantly tackling are so beyond. It's fascinating. And so, on one hand, Everett's like, you can trust me, but on the other hand, it's like, can we though? Because we're right here, Well,
that's the thing too, because I was willing to trust him because Zelda seemed like they were on the same page together in the last, like, 2 episodes, I want to say. But then he was, like, all jittery because he drank up the whole fucking reservoir, and I was like, I don't know what you're planning on.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And so he broke the mirror, and basically Quentin fixed the mirror and threw the female monster in. But in fixing the mirror, he used magic, and it created this explosion that wiped out the entire room.
He used his minor mendings.
When we were going home, we saw a movie last night. When we were going home, we were talking about the episode, and we were sort of, like, trying to predict or guess what could possibly happen. And we've said a few times that we were like, we feel like we're going to lose somebody. I just had this sinking suspicion. It just felt like we were building to something game-changing, because that's the kind of show that it is. And we were trying to guess who, and we were like, Alice? Well, they've already killed Alice. And we were like, and so was Penny, and we were trying to figure out who we could lose. And I don't remember if it was me or you. I think it was me, but I was like, oh my God, what if it's Quentin?
Mm-hmm.
And you were like, oh no. And then we just sort of changed the subject.
Yeah. Well, because we touched on Elliot for a minute too, because I was sort of like, I think Hale Appleman is like a Broadway star. I was like, he might want to go back to theater. And so I didn't sincerely think it might be Quentin, but we were both making some good points.
And it just, oh God, I feel silly because I've been so ready to talk about this. Now that we're actually doing it, I'm sort of, like, floundering a little bit. But I was watching the entire episode with this sense of, like, self-fulfilling dread.
Mm-hmm.
And then sure enough, we watched it play out in slow motion. And I mean, I had that suspicion because I was like, we are only 30 minutes into this episode and we're already, like, dealing with the issue.
Right.
So we're going somewhere. And basically they killed Quentin. And
yeah,
I have to say that it is probably one of the most beautiful episodes of television I've ever seen.
Okay, you liked it then.
Oh my God, it was so good.
Okay, the internet is furious.
I have a lot to say about it.
Okay, cool. Yes, I want to get into that, so good.
I feel like well, I don't know. I kind of feel like we should have come out of the gate swinging, but the internet is livid, and I was getting angrier and angrier.
Me too.
Reading every opinion, because I get it. I really, really do. Both of us were on this train with everybody else.
Yeah.
I know what bury your gaze is. We've talked about it. I understand what it is.
I literally just watched that episode of The 100.
This wasn't that.
No, 100%.
This is up there. The thing that I would compare it to is Vanessa and Daredevil 2. That the fridging, barrier, it's like two things can be true. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yes.
You can have killed a gay character and not had it been... Do you know what I mean?
No, I totally know what you mean. I saw stuff about gay baiting. I saw stuff about...
it was still there.
It was definitely still there. And here's the thing. I saw so many people being like, I should have known better than to trust these people and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, you're not going to give them the benefit of the doubt for season 5. I don't believe for 1 minute that Quentin is going to die and no one's ever going to talk about him again. I have a feeling this is going to sincerely impact Elliot
not to mention
all of season 5 and beyond.
This was the rare occasion where a character actually got a send-off. We are constantly talking about how, like, you know, this isn't comparable to me because I care about Quentin way more than I cared about Allison on Teen Wolf.
Right.
But it was like, that was a similarly gutting shock. And apologies if I just ruined Teen Wolf for you.
Spoilers
but
for Teen Wolf, I guess.
That's a 5-year-old reveal.
Right.
The unfortunate thing with that episode is that it ended with a time jump. Mm-hmm. So there was never an actual grieving process. Mm-hmm. And this just was so immaculate. And so I feel like I cut you off. Were you saying something?
No, I just, in addition to that stuff, we can keep talking about that, but I also saw a lot of people complaining about the suicide angle of it.
That's not
and that's the thing where I'm like, do you not have enough nuance in your brain to understand that he asked that question of Penny and then he got his answer?
Literally, and that's the moment we were watching it and I was standing, because a lot of times I stand, and when I'm kinetic, and when I get like emotional or excited, I tend to move around. And so I was standing in front of the TV, and he literally, the first thing he says was, did I do something heroic, or did I finally find a way to kill myself?
Right.
And I involuntarily like wrapped my arms around myself. Like I threw my arms up around my neck, and I just sort of like, I almost fell over, and I just was sort of in that standing fetal position for the entire rest of the show. Mm-hmm. And when it was over, I actually went and just laid down. I just laid down.
You took a little sad nap.
When you went to bed, I went outside with Egon, and I'm not kidding. I just sat outside and cried. Like, and I mean, I do have, you know, some personal things going on and stuff, and it in many ways, you know, for me, this feels like the end of an era, a very specific era in my life.
Sure.
And I don't know how to explain what Quentin meant to me.
No, I mean, I'm not even having the same experiences or anything. I can see that, how he meant so much to so many people. He meant a lot to me, and I think it's, in addition to the character, Jason Ralph's performance brought so much to it. And I think it's, in my opinion, it's really disrespectful to just kind of wipe the slate clean and be like, well, it was gay baiting and it's like encouraging and glorifying suicide. And I'm like, I don't understand how you can...
The attitudes are so petulant. It's so petulant, entitled brats on the internet pitching hissy fits. And this is exactly the kind of shit that was being skewered in the brilliant Heathers TV series, where and people completely lost their fucking minds with that, because it's just such a cesspool. My
issue is because I am a relatively active member of several fandoms on the internet. I don't understand how you can so deliberately miss the point of what the creators intended to do, because I finished watching that episode and I was like, I mean, I don't know how often I will be able to watch that episode of television, but that's going up there in the list of like flawless episodes of television that have been created, you know? Mm-hmm. I mean, it was breathtaking. I thought everybody performed it just right. You know, having Quentin with, you know, Penny Forty, who they always had a weird relationship, but having that be his, like, you know, the linchpin in this situation. Exactly. Everything about it. And I mean, and they even acknowledged the Quentin's, or Elliot's, fuck me, I do it every time, Quentin's reaction to Penny dying. Remember, he just like burst out into laughter. Right. And then everything, even in addition to that, where when Elliot and Margot finally showed up at the end, when they're singing, first of all, Take On Me is a hilarious song, and I will never be able to listen to it the same way again. But when Elliot showed up and he sat next to Alice and they held hands, they are mourning a love, and they're presumably going to be sharing that experience a little bit. I mean,
Also, Quentin's reactions to Elliot, because he didn't get to
they didn't
reconnect
get to say
with Elliot,
goodbye, and that's
but he
the
did
tragedy.
with Alice.
Yeah.
And tragedy is different, and drama. I had 24 full hours, and I'm still I'm such a mess. Also, I'm going to go ahead and say this. I might be wrong, but I actually believe in my core that we will see Hale Appleman and Jason Ralph on screen together.
On this show?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I really, really do.
Okay.
There was something very specific about the wording where they were like, if there's a reason to bring Jason back, we will.
Sure.
But he is dead. Yeah. And so whether it be a memory, a dream, an afterlife segment, I fully believe that we will see them on screen together with each other again.
I can buy that for sure.
Also, we're not done with the story. We have a full other season guaranteed where this will be explored.
Well, exactly. And, I read the interview with Sarah Gamble and John McNamara, because I was like, this is fucking intense. And when I started seeing the people going nuts, I read it and they were like, they were pulling from their own real life experiences. Like Sarah Gamble lost her father and she was like, sometimes you just die. You don't get to say goodbye.
This show is bigger than your OTP. This isn't that kind of show. It's about life. And in life, you die. It happens. And people die unexpectedly, and people die before you think it's gonna happen. And people die with things unsaid. And we still got it. We still got, it's not like that. It's not like A Day in the Life was like an algorithm in a computer. Like, we actually got to see it.
Yeah, I think people
Elliot is the one character. Quentin and Elliot is the one, they got to live their lives together.
That's what I was going to say. I think people are forgetting that they did live an entire life as husbands. Like, I don't know what else you want.
And yeah, I will say that it does suck that we were robbed of the ability to see, healthy, gay, male, bisexual love story, blah, blah, blah. But this show cannot be all things to all people.
Exactly.
And they've already still gone above and beyond what my expectations or what so many other shows have done. And also, like, seriously, there are still 2 other LGBT characters as series regulars. Yeah. That's not even counting Marina. Like, Margot is canonically bisexual.
Yeah, no, for sure. And the thing, I think it just lends such a melancholy, like a beautiful melancholy to the story.
It was so Quentin.
Yeah.
As it was happening, there was just this inevitability unfolding, and there was just such a poetic justice. And the thing is, as we've always said, that this show, when you're doing a genre-bending mashup, it's not really a genre mashup, but when you're doing a genre show where you really bend tropes, part of that is leaning into tropes.
Right.
Part of that is choosing when to follow convention, when to break convention. And it's like, also, sure, we're in a post-Game of Thrones world, but it is still pretty unconventional to kill your male lead. Like,
no, for sure. And I mean, I also, if Jason Ralph wanted to leave, there's not anything...
I don't think he did. They said that this was something that they came up with the idea for last season, and they ran it by him.
Yeah.
And they also called Lev Grossman, and they ran it by him, and they said there was a very long pause, and he said, I think it's a fantastic idea.
Yeah, and I agree with you. It's very entitled. The attitudes are very entitled, very bratty.
Oh,
it's just like...
I literally logged off. I couldn't be bothered.
Yeah.
This is a TV show that people work hard on.
Right.
And because there's a lot of talk. It's funny because Louis Virtel is one of the ones where he actually hates stan culture and doesn't really participate in any of that stuff. And it's like, I'm like, oh, this is why. It's this weird toxic delusion that so many people get.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, I don't understand that. I mean, and I feel like I am...
And there's so many people talking on behalf of Hale Appleman and stuff. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
I just cut you.
No, you've done it a handful of times already, but this episode was more for you than me, so...
I'm sorry.
No, I mean, I know that I am a little entitled in my life, but, like, I don't understand having that level of entitlement. Like, from people who don't know who you are and don't care who you are and wouldn't, like... piss on you if you were on fire. Like, it just sort of the just audacity of people to be like, I couldn't even. I saw one person say, I should have known better than to trust people who were responsible for Supernatural. And I'm just like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, the show, right?
Well, yeah, because Sarah Gamble used to be the EP, you
used to complain about the way Supernatural handled.
I think they handle their
like female characters,
their women not great, but it just am like. I saw people literally, well, I'm done. People are washing their hands of the show, and I'm like, don't you think, like, in my opinion, they have earned my trust.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they have done enough that I believe.
We went somewhere where they completely showed their work. This was not just fucking shit just to fuck shit. Like, it had such a poetic symmetry and a poetic justice. And not to mention the fact that we got the reveal that Quentin is the one who is in the elevator. And that scene was put in the episode about the side quest where Penny learned, or like, I guess Penny didn't learn it, but there was that whole thing about how there are more characters besides your, cis white male character. And so to have Penny go through that entire thing and then go to the elevator and see Quentin standing there, now his like, hey, suddenly kind of because we couldn't get a read on that. We were like,
because I was like, it could be Katie, or it could honestly be Julia. He kind of knew Julia.
But there was a familiarity, but there was also, like, he conveyed such a, like, that was an ironic hey.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? He conveyed irony in the word hi. Like,
yeah.
It just, I have so much more that I want to say, and there's so much more that we could have said it. There's so much better we could have said it. I'm still very emotional.
I definitely am, too. I mean, we didn't even touch on a lot of things, like the total and complete devastation on Olivia Taylor-Dudley's face when she realized what Quentin had done.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
putting that scene in slow motion, oh my god, it was so good. It was so good. Slow motion is tricky.
And it's all like sepia toned and everything. I mean, it was just, everything about it, in my opinion, was beautifully done. The shot
of Megina Tova just sitting at the lake
and casting,
just staring out, like that's the picture I chose for our episode. And I was kind of like, should it be a picture of Quentin? And I was like, it could be. I was like, but that was how I felt. That was like, I did want to read. I read an IO9 article, and I also followed IO9. I apparently love it and didn't know. It, like, snuck up on me. But they've got good takes. But it was Beth Elderkin. And she said, speculative fiction has a way of helping us understand ourselves because it allows us to explore complicated, real experiences in a safe space. It wasn't until I watched Freeform's The Bold Type that I understood my sexual identity was more complicated than dudes are cool. Likewise, watching a scene where characters use magic to express their mourning, singing out the feelings they may never be able to say out loud, broke me, because I've done the same thing. My grief was echoed in their grief, creating a cycle of mourning back and forth over and over. I'm still feeling it even now. It may never leave you.
Yeah, 100%.
Because we were in shock last night, and, you were like, he'll be back, and...
I just sat there for like 10 minutes watching Food Network before I went to bed.
You were sort of like, he'll be back. We'll see him next season. And I didn't say it because I couldn't yet, but I was like, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I was like, you don't do that. And like I said, I do believe we will see Jason Ralph on this show again in a scene. But Quentin is dead.
And I'm going to say maybe once next season for like a short scene. And then like whenever the show is over, I think he might come back for the finale.
Mm-hmm. I would honestly say probably only one more time, but regardless, because now I'm looking at season 5 like it's going to be the last.
That would be a bummer.
Unless it really takes off, because that's, this episode's running a little long, but we had some things to say. But I mean, do you have any ideas for what the show is going to be like? I mean,
not really.
Are you going to watch of course we're going to, but
yeah, I can't really imagine. I mean, I assume, Julia does still have magic, so something's going to happen with that. I mean, but other than that, I honestly couldn't say.
I'm gonna tune in to find out.
Yeah, for sure.
I guess that's the end for now.
Yeah, well, this was our season 4 coverage of The Magicians. So good.
It was so good.
Seriously so good, and I mean, I think it ended exactly right. So, I guess, as always, you can follow us on Twitter, @SoI'mWatching, Instagram, @SoI'mWatchingThisShow. We are also on Facebook and Tumblr, So I'm Watching This Show. As mentioned, we're going to put a couple songs on the Spotify playlist, So I'm Watching This Show, the music. We are also now on YouTube, so you can just search So I'm Watching This Show and you'll find us, and there's links out from our website, soimwatching.com. And other than that, just please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen. Bye!
I'll be coming for your love, okay? Take on me.
Take on me.
Take me on.
Take on me.
I'll be gone in a day or two.
So needless to say, I'm odds and ends, but that's to me I'm stumbling away, slowly learning that life is okay.
Say after me, it's no better to be safe than sorry. Take on me.
Take on me.
Take me on.
Take on me.